Hey guys, it is Wednesday, March 25th. I'm back in the classroom. I'm going to make this more of a teaching video than just an informational video. So bear with me as this will be the first one. So since Thursday, I've had you looking at the rise of totalitarian leaders. In this in between time, we had the economy boom, we have the economy bust. So there's a worldwide Great Depression. Trade is down, inflation is up, money is worthless, people are starving, and it kind of paved the way for these ruthless leaders to rise up. They make great promises or they force great things to happen. People are starving, they're out of work, and so here we go. All right, so first it's the Russian Revolution. How did the Russian Revolution change life in Russia and affect politics in Europe? Well, before we went out for the pandemic quarantine, you already told me in each class that Russia was a monarchy before World War I, and that the Russian Revolution changed it to an oligarchy. This group called the Bolsheviks started a revolution and they won. And so actually it becomes, an oligarchy, a one-party government, the Bolsheviks. A one-party government is also called communism in our modern day. So that's where, Russia switched over from a monarchy to being a communist country because they have this one political party. Because the Bolsheviks were communist. Now, what does communism mean? Well, in the broad scheme of things, communism means that there is no government. Hold on, I'm going to pause a minute and go back to our interactive notebooks. Okay, I actually had to go back to an IMB from last year because we haven't gotten to this part yet. So, communism. Dun, dun, dun. See if you can see this. So, as you see, we are a capitalist country. So we have competition, individuals own businesses, we have social classes, there is a wealth gap. We do have some government involvement now. That's why we're a mixed market economy, but we are still capitalist, right? So let's look at communism. So communism in its truest form means that the common people share everything. There wouldn't be any government. There wouldn't be any wealth classes. Nobody would be poor. Nobody would be rich. Everybody, there would be common goods, and everybody gets what they need based on the size of their families. Now, sounds pretty good, right? Everybody gets what they need based on the size of their families. However, in reality, this is not how communism plays out. Communism tends to be a dictatorship, very much government run, command economy where the government dictates what's being made, how much is being made, and who's going to make it. And then they do pass out what's needed based on your family size. But maybe your family needs toilet paper and the government is not making toilet paper that month. So you're a little out of luck with communism. Okay, so the Bolsheviks were communists. See if there's anything else I can maybe tell you about communism. Yeah, that's pretty much a good synopsis of communism and how it plays out. There are communist countries still in our modern day. So the Bolsheviks were communist. They started the Russian Revolution, and then they overtook and started their own government, one-party government of communism. So let's see. This happened under Lenin. So, not Stalin. Lenin came before Stalin. Lenin and his Red Army, and they created fear in the Russian people. Okay. Lenin dies, and Stalin, I've got a picture of him. Stalin, dun, 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 comes to power. Good old, really not. He was very much a horrible leader. He killed lots and lots of his people. So Stalin comes to power. He establishes plans to industrialize Russia. So he wants to create a lot of industry in Russia. Stalin creates these economic policies, and they're really not good for the common man. And he actually creates what's called purges in Russia. So if any of you have watched those movies, The Purge, where like there's a free 24 hours to go around and kill people, holy cow, it was pretty much like that, except it was death by starvation or death by the government. So Stalin literally starved thousands of his own citizens over his time period. He started off with purging Russia of the people who opposed him first, so that was military, deaths and killings. But his economic policies ended up starving people out. The living conditions for the people went just downhill drastically. Like I said, they were starving. So food production increased under his economic plans, but the food wasn't for the citizens of Russia. Most of the food was sold to make money so that they could build up the industry and build up their military. And these events set the stage for, other fascist leaders to gain power in other countries when they saw how it was going in Russia. So, yeah, look him up some more if you want to. Joseph Stalin, bad guy. Okay? All right. So, pause again. Okay. Now we're going to move to Italy and Benito Mussolini. You read about him some? Look at him. Oh, look at him here with this famous guy, Adolf Hitler. So, what's up with Mussolini and how did he change the government of Italy? Same thing, Great Depression. He used the economic suffering during the Depression to gain his power. He actually played on the fears of the middle class. He promised to break up the growing power of socialist economy being that the government will provide for you. You just have to follow the government's demands. It's a little bit more detailed than that. I'll go into that later. But it's not good for the people. And so the people of Italy were suffering under a socialist economy, and Mussolini started to promise that he was going to break that up. Mussolini pretty much took over, forcefully because he demanded power from the Italian king at the time. And the king gave in to his demands and made Mussolini prime minister. On being prime minister, Mussolini set himself up as a dictator, and he was able to have complete control in Italy at this point. He fixed elections so that only his supporters were elected. He removed opponents from positions of power, and his type of government was or is called fascism. And in fascism, Mussolini says that the state or the country of Italy is more important than its individuals. So how the country is doing, the government economy is much more important than individual welfare and individual economies. The government controls the economy. There is private ownership, but the government controls how your private business is run and handled. Any competition is banned. The media is controlled. What the media can put out is controlled by the government. And propaganda, posters and books, and again, the media is used to influence the people. Like in France with the Reign of Terror, Mussolini, terror was used to maintain power. So he put a lot of fear in the Italian people. He had a secret police force who arrested, tortured, and often killed any who went against the government. So yeah, Benito Mussolini, another bad guy. Third, we have Hirohito. Hirohito was the 124th emperor of Japan, according to the traditional order of succession. So, as in, the son or the oldest male. He reigned as the emperor of the Empire of Japan from December 25th, 1926 until the 2nd of May, 1947. And of the state of Japan, he was the emperor from May 3rd, 1947 until he died January 7th, 1989. So he was the emperor at the time of World War II is going to start. Now, he's the emperor, however, and you would say then that is like a monarchy, right? But if you've done the reading, then you'll know that Japan's government was really run by the military. So although he had some power, he did not have all power as an emperor. He was more of a figurehead as time went on. And he had someone under him that made the decisions. And we'll discuss that person later. But Hirohito, not necessarily the baddest guy of, if we look at Lenin and Stalin and Hitler and Mussolini, but you're going to see some choices he made that probably you won't agree with. All right. You guys should know this face, Adolf Hitler. He was a German politician, leader of the Nazi Party. He rose to power as the chancellor, so in an actual fair election in Germany in 1933. And when he became the chancellor of Germany in 1933, then he stopped all elections and became the first dictator, or Führer, as he was called, in 1934. He was actually born in Austria. Remember Austria-Hungary from World War I? So he's not even German born, which is something to remember whenever we're looking at the persecution of Germans and Jews during World War II. Okay. So Hitler, how did he get to power? Well, he used the unhappiness of the German people following World War I to his advantage. Remember, the Germans are really unhappy with the Treaty of Versailles. They felt like, that Germany should not have been at fault. That guilt clause of Germany taking over, saying that they were 100% guilty for World War I, that's a big deal. Hitler promised to stop the payment of reparations and to rebuild German military and build a new empire. He gained the support of business and landowners by promising to prevent a communist takeover. So Hitler's against communism, although he still wants to have just him as, the government. So people are hearing about what's going on in Russia, and he's promising that that won't happen. The Nazi Party starts. He's head of the Nazi Party, so that's his followers. And they gain a majority of seats in the German parliament. Let me switch hands here. There we go. In the German parliament. And the president was forced to name Hitler as the chancellor. Okay. So at this point, Hitler kind of suspends the Constitution. So he no longer needs the legislature to pass the laws, and he has complete power. The only political party allowed to exist is the Nazi Party. He uses a lot of propaganda and terror, like Mussolini, to maintain his power. His terror was the Gestapo, which was his Nazi police. So, what's he doing for the people at this time to make them follow him so much? Well, he created a lot of public works. He funded private businesses. He increased employment. The employment rate was so high whenever he was in charge of Germany before World War II begins. So everybody's working, everybody's making money. He's promising a car for every um, citizen that they'll be able to afford one. So their economy starts to rise and people are working. He rebuilt the military and he did stop the reparation payments. So he's violating the Treaty of Versailles. And a lot of the German people don't mind because they did not agree with it. Okay? So there's just a little look into some of the history of the people that I've had you reading about. Hopefully this in-person talk will help a little bit. Go back and do your assignments. And then after you watch this video, I will give you an assignment to do. Probably Flipgrid. I don't know. We'll see here in a few minutes. All right. Take care. Until next time. Bye.